This lesson is about Cyclone Phailin, which hit India's east coast in October 2013 as a very severe cyclone, and it is considered as the most intense since 1999 super cyclone. The cyclone made landfall in Ganjam district of Odisha and killed 44 people and caused massive destruction of public and private properties. Government's proactive and efficient response leading up to the cyclone's landfall is widely credited for minimizing the human death toll. To see the death toll in perspective, the total number of people who died in the 1999 super cyclone on Odisha was over 10,000. This minimization was possible due to a major evacuation exercise that was undertaken in the state, during which nearly 1 million people were taken to safe shelters. So the objectives of the lesson is, on completion of this lesson, you would be able to 1. Understand the phenomena of cyclone and key features of Cyclone Phailin. 2. You will examine how early warning was operationalized during Phailin. Know how evacuation was conducted prior to the cyclone's landfall. And 4. Identify nature of damage and destruction which the cyclone caused. And 5. You will be aware of kind of relief and response measures undertaken for a disaster. What is the phenomena of cyclone? Tropical cyclone is popularly known as a cyclone in India, is a phenomena in which storms originating on surface of sea moves while gathering force and causes a heavy rainfall, considerable wind speed and deadly tidal surge. Meteorologically, it is an intense rotational low pressure system in tropics with huge mass of revolving moisture whirl in the atmosphere with very strong winds circulating around it in an anti-clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere and in clockwise direction on the southern hemisphere. Tropical cyclones are generally categorized in terms of the central low pressure wind speed, etc. It gives us stages of cyclonic development and identifies their categories based on wind speed as prevalent in the Indian Ocean. If we look at the cyclonic evolution, at low pressure, the wind sustained is less than 31 kilometers per hour. If we look at a depression, it is between 31 to 51 kilometers per hour. Deep depression is 52 to 62 kilometers per hour, and a cyclone is 63 to 87 kilometers per hour. A severe cyclone is marked by 88 to 117 kilometers per hour, whereas a very severe cyclone is 118 to 221 kilometers per hour. When it comes to a super cyclone, it goes more than 222 kilometers per hour. Phailin is the name of one such very severe cyclone which hit east coast of India in 2013. It originated from a dissipating cyclonic circulation in South China Sea. It was first detected as a low pressure system in Tenasserim coast on 6th October 2013, and it moved to North Andaman Sea by the next day, becoming a well marked low pressure system. It turned into a depression over the same region the next day, and by 9th October morning it had moved west northwestward, turning into a deep depression. It continued to intensify, and the same day evening it was categorized as a cyclonic storm named Phailin by India. The meteorological department on 10th October, Phailin carried forward its northwestward movement, intensifying further into a severe cyclone. By afternoon of the same day, is that 10th October, it was declared as a very severe cyclonic storm that lay over east central Bay of Bengal. Phailin eventually, it crossed the east coast at Gopalpur in Odisha on 12th October around 10:30 p.m. Its effect was widespread, heavy rainfall, and produced a maximum wind speed in the range of 200 to 220 kilometers per hour. Its impact was felt over a wide region in Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. The following are some of the prominent features of this cyclone. Key features of Cyclone Phailin It was the most severe cyclone to cross Indian coast since 1999 super cyclone. It affected nearly 90 lakh people across states. 44 human lives were lost due to the cyclone in Odisha alone. Phailin produced heavy rainfall, the maximum being 38 centimeters cumulative over 24 hours at Banki in Cuttack district of Odisha. The cyclone resulted in a tidal or storm surge of 2 to 2.5 meters above astronomical tide in the low-lying areas of Ganjam district of Odisha. As a consequence of tidal surge, seawater inundated coastal areas up to 1 kilometer inland. The cyclone at the time of crossing had become extremely intense, and yet the death toll could be limited to 23 in Odisha. To see the total death toll in perspective, one has to consider that during the 1999 Odisha super cyclone, 10,000 people died. It was for this reason Government of Odisha was appreciated for its timely action and preventive measures during the cyclone Phailin. For its management, Government of Odisha was subsequently felicitated by United Nations Special Representative Margareta Wallström in December 2013 for the excellent effort that the government had made. In the following section, 4 aspects of this cyclone are covered. 1 is warning, 2 is evacuation, 3 is damage and losses, and 4 is relief and response. Let's look at each one of them. Early warning for Phailin. Warning services for cyclone in India is carried out by India Meteorological Department, which is the IMD, which is founded in 1875. The India Meteorological Department is among the oldest scientific agencies in the country and has vast amount of experience as far as cyclone warning is concerned. It is currently designated as one of the 6 regional meteorological services centers for tropical cyclone in the world by the World Meteorological Organization, and provides cyclone warning services to neighboring countries such as Maldives, Myanmar, etc. India Meteorological Department classifies its cyclones advisory warnings into 5 categories: A. Watch, B. Alert, C. Warning, D. Post landfall outlook, and E. De-warning. The first, watch, is issued in the initial stage of a cyclonic formation, while alert is definite indication of a cyclonic development. Warning continues until the threat persists, and the post landfall outlook provides forecasts weather subsequent to a landfall. De-warning is an indication of clearance of danger and signals withdrawing of precautionary measures. In case of Phailin, India Meteorological Department was monitoring the cyclonic storm from its inception stage and tracked its movement closely until its dissipation after landfall. Satellite data as well as that of radar were continually fed into forecast development process. A range of models, some of them from international agencies such as Japan Meteorological Agencies, United Kingdom Meteorological Organization, were considered. Even while India's Meteorological Department generated its own forecasts on cyclones track, its landfall location and time, intensity in terms of wind speed, rainfall and tidal surge, it also involved efforts at minimizing inherent models, errors in forecasting using the technique of ensemble prediction system. Right from the time of Deep Depression, Cyclone Warning Division of IMD issued periodic updates every 6 hours to various user groups and public in general, until the system dissipated as a low pressure after landfall. As many as 45 national bulletins issued and 6 press conferences were held. Daily briefings were made to senior central and state government functionaries such as Principal Secretary, to Prime Minister, Chief Minister, Cabinet Secretary, State Chief Secretaries, Minister of Home Affairs, National Disaster Management Authority, etc. Simultaneously, Periodic updates, press releases were disseminated for all vulnerable public through India Meteorological Department website and other mass media such as television channels, All India Radio, state and local government websites. In addition to these agencies, specific bulletins were also prepared and provided. For example, International Civil Aviation Organization, Indian Air Force, Railways, Shipping and Navy. The table below gives an overview of number of advisories and updates were issued by India Meteorological Department for Phailin. If we look at the table and the bulletins issued by India Meteorological Department for Phailin, we see Cyclone Watch was issued 2 number of times, Cyclone Alert was at 6, Cyclone Warning was issued 21 times, Post Landfall Warning was 8 times, Press Air Television Channel announced 38 times, Port Warnings were 36 number of times, D Warning was 1 and Fisherman Warning was 28. Apart from bulletins by India Meteorological Department, Headquarter Delhi, area cyclone warning centers at Kolkata, Visakhapatnam and Chennai as well as cyclone warning centers at Bhubaneswar issued number of bulletins during this period for wider dissemination. Evacuation and precautionary measures. Warning, if not acted upon or is not followed by necessary preventive measures, it is of no use. During Cyclone Phailin, a key reason why death toll could be significantly reduced is because of a very efficient and effective response from both the government of Odisha and Andhra Pradesh in coordination with central agencies. As soon as the low pressure system was detected and projected to intensify further, state authorities were put on an alert, and by the time it was declared a cyclonic storm moving towards Odisha coast, a massive exercise was initiated to ensure all possible preventive and precautionary measures were being taken. Coordination meeting was convened at the highest level in 2 states under the chairmanship of chief ministers, in which coastal districts were put on high alert. All vulnerable districts authorities in turn convened district level meetings in Odisha, in which one of the key decisions was to develop a micro plan or a detailed plan on how to conduct evacuation for all those who are vulnerable. Concerned department officials were nominated and were entrusted with developing this micro plan on a war footing by taking input from the ground level functionaries so that plans are practical and implementable. To communicate and disseminate warning about Cyclone Phailin, all possible channels were utilized. These includes radio, television, cable TV, scroll messages, newspapers, websites. Considering there is often a better response when warnings are local specific, vehicle mounted loudspeakers went from village to village announcing updates on the approaching storm and need for people to take safety measures. In many areas, local political representatives such as the village sarpanch, ward member and member of legislative assembly went along with government officials to meet residents of most vulnerable villages and to inform severity of the cyclone. All of these measures were in the foreground to lead one of the biggest cyclone related evacuation exercise undertaken in the history of India. As many as 11 lakh people were evacuated in Odisha and more than 1 lakh in coastal areas of Andhra Pradesh. In Ganjam district of Odisha alone, where the cyclone eventually made landfall, nearly 9 lakh people were evacuated to safe shelters. Obviously, moving such a large number of people to safe shelters involves a massive exercise in which thousands of personnel participated. One of the first tasks of district level team in Odisha was to finalize the detailed micro level plan which outlined number of people needing to be evacuated, cyclone shelters which are available, additional shelters needed, persons with specific needs such as senior citizens, pregnant women and lactating mothers, people with disability and those that are medically unwell. These details were aggregated from village upward to estimate overall need at district level. 2 days prior to the landfall of the cyclone, fishermen were stopped from going into sea. Those already inside sea were communicated through various means to stay clear of the impending cyclone. Considering the number of population needing evacuation was much larger than available accommodation capacities for specially designed multi-purpose cyclone shelters, it was decided to inspect other concrete structures and buildings which can withstand cyclone's intensity and be used as temporarily safe shelters. Now, most of these temporary shelters were government, private schools and college buildings, while many were community halls, religious institutions, and these provided shelters for so many people. The actual evacuation started 2 days prior to landfall, is the 10th October morning. It was done according to the plan developed and under the supervision of district or local level designated officials. People, even though knew of the cyclonic threat and necessity of evacuating, doing so is far from easy, and it involves a crucial decision-making process that factors in number of aspects such as past experience, own assessment of prevailing conditions, constraints such as leaving home, properties, domestic animals which were left behind, uncertainty over period of stay, special needs, for example for the senior citizens and small children. The task of the authorities therefore did not rest only with making provisions but encouraging and convincing them to move into designated shelters well in advance. As Cyclone Phailin moved closer to the coast, weather conditions deteriorated under its influence and evacuation became increasingly difficult. However, fortunately by this time, most people were taken into safe shelters. In this process, a number of concerned agencies of state were roped in to participate. Education department, for example, played a key role in ensuring school buildings are used for shelters. Similarly, Food and Civil Supplies Department facilitated in providing food and drinking water to residents while they are in the temporary shelters. Transport Department for providing transport services to evacuees. Panchayat Raj Department for mobilizing their network and resources. Health Department, evacuees medical care. Police for ensuring law and order, etc. Various central agencies were also brought into evacuation exercise, such as BSNL for communication support, National Disaster Response Force for key operations such as search and rescue, clearance of road blocked due to tree falling, etc. Armed forces such as the Indian Army, Air Force, Navy, Railways and shipping were also part of this coordinated response. In addition, wherever applicable, help of private agencies and non-government organizations were also taken. For example, private mobile operators in supporting mobile communication, non-government and community-based organizations running of community kitchen, distribution of relief, providing psychosocial care and counseling to affected people. Damage and destruction of Cyclone Phailin. Cyclone Phailin crossed the coast over the port town Gopalpur, which is near Berhampur, Odisha, on the evening of 12th October. At the time of its landfall, it remained as a very severe cyclonic storm, causing heavy to heavier rainfall and wind speed over 200 km per hour. 18 districts in Odisha and 3 districts in Andhra Pradesh were severely affected by the cyclone. It caused massive scale uprooting of trees, damage to public and private buildings, disrupting telephone and electricity network. As many as 2.6 million trees were reportedly uprooted and 3.8 million homes were without power under its impact. One of the immediate tasks for the authorities was to begin the process of assessing relief needs and undertake a rapid damage assessment. These two exercises formed the basis of making plans for actual relief distribution and restoration of normalcy. Most sectors of economy were impacted as a result of the cyclone. The cyclone's impact, Odisha is primarily dependent on agriculture, and the cyclone caused much loss to the sector. Out of total area of 6.3 million hectares, which is under kharif crop in the state, nearly 1.3 million hectares were damaged, out of which area of 78 million hectares suffered more than 50% losses. Most of these were standing crops. In addition, there were widespread damage to agricultural infrastructure and horticulture as well. Kevada, a particular plant which is widely cultivated in Ganjam region for its economic value, were severely damaged due to the wind action. The overall estimated crop loss was estimated to be rupees 1,555 million, while that of horticulture infrastructure such as nurseries and buildings, an additional 4 million Indian rupees was lost. Cyclone Phailin was followed by a heavy flood in Odisha from 21st to 26th October, and many of the cyclone affected regions thus had to face another disaster in less than a week's time. Together, they posed a severe challenge to restore normalcy. Public utility services such as drinking water, sanitation, power, communication networks were badly crippled under its impact. The cyclone, in conjunction with the flood, damaged 1,088 kilometers of canals, 8,152 minor irrigation projects, 4,848 minor lift irrigation projects, and over 1,000 kilometers of river or saline embankment was damaged. According to World Bank report, cost estimated for rebuilding of irrigation infrastructure itself was 4,774 million rupees. Railway services were badly disrupted during this period, with more than 165 trains cancelled. Biju Patnaik Airport at Bhubaneswar suspended its services on 12th October as a consequence of cyclonic impact. There were blockades of national highways due to falling trees and extensive damage to infrastructure. Houses were damaged in several parts of the state. According to Government of Odisha report, 2,56,600 units of houses were either fully or partially damaged. Ganjam, Puri and Khorda were among the most affected districts in this respect. As many as 12,800 public buildings were damaged to various extent. These include primary and high schools, health centers and other public buildings. Road infrastructure suffered extensive damage. For example, according to Rural Works Government of Odisha, 300 breaches were reported at various places. The disaster brought much loss to fisheries, its activities including inland and marine. Over 8,000 boats, fishing nets and 5,742 hectares of inland fish tanks were either fully or partially damaged in three most affected districts, namely Ganjam, Khorda and Puri. The total estimated losses for the state are as much as 6,047 million Indian rupees. Other areas of economic activities which suffered significant losses include handlooms and handicrafts, small and micro enterprises. All these were impacted by the cyclone Phailin. Now, relief and response. So, what was the relief and response in the context of cyclone Phailin? As soon as the cyclone passed over, the disaster response teams were quick to initiate emergency measures. Some of the immediate steps taken in Odisha include the following: mobilization of 140 medical teams and opening of medical centers, 4,197 free kitchens to cater to the affected population were started. Search and rescue of missing people, including fishermen, stranded at deep sea. Road clearance using disaster response forces. Restoration of communication and power. Development of a plan for relief distribution, for example, type of relief, logistic support, relief quality, distribution, etc. were all activated. Cancellation leave of all government officials for emergency services was put into place. Even before the cyclone had made landfall on 11th October, a meeting had been held under the chairmanship of Minister of Revenue and Disaster Management, Government of Odisha, for creating a coordination mechanism between government and non-government organizations. Accordingly, an interagency group, which is IAG, comprising government, UN agencies, NGOs, etc., was formed. In persuasions to this position them well in terms of stocking of essential supplies such as food, drinking water, emergency kits, etc. Community-based organizations also played an important role both before and after the cyclone made its impact. All highways and major roads were cleared within 24 hours of the cyclone landfall and the rest within 48 hours of it. This could be possible only because of preparedness, measures such as mobilization and positioning of response personnel and equipments like JCB and tree cutting machines. As a consequence of early road clearance, need for airdropping of food packets and relief material was minimized. Tube wells were disinfected and places where power was not restored, water supplies were operationalized through generators. These measures prevented outbreak of any epidemics in these affected regions. Media in any disaster plays a key role, and during Phailin, a very positive role in so far as communication of warning, reporting from the ground various problems people were facing. For example, in moving to shelters, gaps in relief distribution, nature of difficulties faced by agencies in restoration of services. Let us summarize what we learned. Cyclone Phailin hit coastal states of Odisha and Andhra Pradesh in October 2013 and caused much damage and destruction. It was one of the most severe cyclones in recent times, and yet timely evacuation and precautionary safety measures could minimize the death toll significantly. In Odisha, where the cyclone made landfall, more than 1 million people were taken to safe shelters. A key lesson of this case study is a demonstration of how timely mitigation and preparedness measures can lead to an effective response. It is important, however, to note that such timely precautionary measures could be undertaken because of prior planning, resource allocation, effective coordination mechanisms in place, and proactive leadership.